Hi, everyone. Welcome back to As Told by Zink with your host, Samantha. I am in studio with my second guest of the new year. I'm so excited. Hi, Jess. How are you?
I'm doing great. So honored to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited for you to come on. I have been slightly stalking you, and I realize...
Love to hear it.
When I have guests on that I don't know them too well, I stalk, but I don't give myself too much information so I can learn more.
Yeah. I did the same thing to you.
Oh, amazing. Okay, perfect. But yeah, I noticed you were in Australia.
I was in Australia. I just got back. I was there for 6 weeks.
I was just in Australia.
No way!
Yeah, I swear to God.
I saw your highlight on your profile.
I saw your highlight.
Okay, so funny.
Wait, what were you doing in Australia?
I was there with my ex-boyfriend.
Is he Australian?
Yeah.
I was there with my current Australian boyfriend.
Ooh. I'm glad you guys came back together.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, T.
Oh my gosh. No, yeah, it's crazy. We met on Instagram and then he flew to LA and then I flew to Australia. I was not planning.
Okay, so he lives there.
Yes, but now he's moving to LA in February. But it was amazing. Was that your first time going?
It was, and it was honestly incredible. I loved it.
Where were you in Australia?
I was in New South Wales, just on the coast in a really sleepy little town.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was Broad Beach area, and then I went to Sydney, and it reminded me of California. And then Sydney was
Sydney.
Sydney reminded me of New York City.
Yeah, it's definitely has that hustle and bustle feel.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked. I thought it was going to be the Outback. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, no.
You have to go to the zoo to pet kangaroos.
Yeah.
Or they're not just out.
I know. They were oh my God, you're gonna see kangaroos everywhere, koalas everywhere. Took me weeks to see one in the wild. I did go to the zoo. I hugged some wallaroos. I was really excited about it.
Yeah, they're so cute. I mean, I feel like all of the animals are just these chubby furry things.
They're so cute.
Did you hear about the koala chlamydia outbreak?
You know what? That actually does ring a bell, but I can't say I looked into it.
Everyone told me that when I was going. They're like, "Did you hear about the koalas?" And I'm like, "No."
Listen.
So yeah.
They've got to reproduce somehow.
Yeah, and I was like, I guess I'm not going to hold the koala now. I'll just
unfortunately didn't get to hold one. I guess it's for the better though.
Oh my gosh. But wait, okay, I just want a little tea and then we can move on. Did you meet so your ex-boyfriend's Australian?
Yes, but he lives in LA.
Oh, so you guys were we should get out of...
Well, we went back home for the holidays to spend it with his family.
Yeah. Okay.
So went over there, met his family. We stayed with them for 6 weeks and explored Australia. Mm-hmm. And it honestly was incredible. Best trip ever. Really went off without a hitch, no issues. But we just kind of at the end of it, we're just taking inventory and saying okay, we know we've been dating for X amount of time. I think it's probably 7 months by the time we got back, and I just felt things weren't progressing in a direction that I needed for longevity. And I brought that up and kind of just we decided to part ways. It was nothing really terrible. It's just that there's a lot of love there. But sometimes people just aren't your person. Doesn't mean that they're not incredible. Doesn't mean that they're not amazing and, extremely compatible, but it's just not it. You know what I mean? So yeah, just decided to kind of part ways.
Wait, okay, that's so crazy you say that. My ex before the Mr. Australian man, he checked all the boxes, great guy, but I just was not in love with him. I think in the beginning it was fun. We traveled a lot and but then I got to a point where I was I feel my body is rejecting you in a way. Is that you just were okay, you're not my person?
So it wasn't the case. No, honestly, to be vulnerable, it was not me. I was all in. I don't want to get emotional.
No, I'm so sorry. You didn't even sign up.
I know, it's okay. It's okay. It lit we finalized it yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very new.
Yeah.
I was all in. I communicated that I was all in, and I communicated what I would need, moving forward. Because obviously, I'm hey, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm progressing. I need to know if it's a safe space to move forward. And I communicated what I needed, and he wasn't showing up for me. And I was listen, I can sense that there's some resistance for you, and either you can like work through whatever you're going through, and I can like be there with you and I can be patient with you, or I'm just not it for you, and like that's kind of okay too. And he was like, you know, basically said that like it wasn't it for him. And so that's a bummer, but like that's also okay, because although I felt like he was for me, my person like would choose me, and like without a doubt. So like that's okay.
Yeah, and every single time too. And I also think like timing with people, you know?
Yeah, and like he said that as well, which, you know, like I don't know, I'm also like, I don't know, time isn't real, but like it's not up for me to figure it out. Like, you know, you're a grown man. I'm not like I've been patient enough. I unfortunately, like, I think I was trying to prevent him from regretting a decision later on in life, because obviously like fumbling me is going to be like the worst mistake of his life.
I love that.
I'm kidding. But I think that I was like, you know, trying to like be too patient, and I just needed to like just cut it off for like my sake. And like, if it's meant to be, it will be. And, you know, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I'm a person that I'm like second chances too, even if you didn't do anything wrong, but I move on so fast. Like, I'm a Taurus. Once I'm moved on, there's no coming back. I'm not like, oh, maybe down the road. Like, no, that's it.
No. I am a lover girl. I say it would take me a minute, but like, I also don't feel like there's a ton for me to like heal from, because the relationship was so beautiful and I was so present for a lot of it, that like I don't feel like I need to like, you know, like talk about too much. It's just simply like it's just like the way the cookie crumbled, you know what I mean? And like I'm not gonna like continue to like reflect on it, because like the reflecting will do me no good. I just have to kind of like push forward, although I will be kind of like hung up on it for a minute emotionally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Life is just...
It's okay. I mean, you know, like everything else in my life, like really is so incredible, so beautiful. I have such amazing friends, and I'm so fulfilled in every other aspect of my life that like it makes it so much easier, because it's like, I can't even be hurt. I can't even be like ungrateful, because my life is so beautiful and like so incredible that like, I just, even if I never had a romantic partner again, I am so fulfilled that like, I just feel like I don't need it.
Well, I love that. You were definitely super positive. And you know what? Maybe the universe is like, okay, we actually need you to focus on your career. Like, maybe I always felt like it was really hard balancing like career and love and friends and all of the things. Is this falling?
Yeah, it's okay.
And I feel like sometimes it's like you have to really focus and like hone in on one thing.
Yeah, 100%. And like, as I said, like I am a lover girl. So like when I am in these relationships, especially like in the first like 6 months to a year, I'm like all in. I'm like, I'm doing anything and everything for this person. Like, we were renovating his house. Like, I was there every weekend renovating his place, helping him out with things. He was like getting into social media. I was like doing his brand partnerships for him, pitching for him, creating his media kit for him, literally doing everything, pouring into him. And I don't mind that, because it's like how I am, and that's how I am with my friends as well. But like, that is energy that like I wasn't putting towards myself in my career. So I am excited to like start pouring into myself again.
I love that. Good for you, girl. Yeah. And honestly, the right guy is going to match you with that masculine energy, because 100%. You have like the feminine energy of taking care of them and making sure they're good. They're going to like equally match you and take care of you from like the masculine side.
Yeah. And that's all I was asking for, you know, and I know that that's not too much to ask for. Like, you know, when I was communicating what I needed, I was like, I know for a fact that like this is the bare minimum. And if you're not able to show up for me that way, like I love you, but like I won't accept less than what I deserve. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that. Well, good for you, girl. Yeah. New year. Who knows what will happen?
Yeah.
Focus on your career. We're going to like dive into like everything that you have going on, which is a lot. I want to like start from the basics. So are you from LA? I feel like no.
No, I'm not. Okay. I was born in Miami, and I was raised between there and North Carolina. My dad was in the Marine Corps, so I moved around a little bit.
Oh my gosh. What, like two vastly different places to live.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. My mom is actually Nicaraguan, so she was born in Nicaragua. And then my entire family is like Hispanic and, you know, born and pretty much raised in Miami, and then like just me and like my brother and sister and my mom and dad like moved up to North Carolina away from the family, but we would come back like every summer, or whenever my dad was deployed, we'd always come back and stay with my grandparents so that like my mom could get help. And it was nice though, because I feel like I had two different places to call home.
Yeah, no, I love that. And like one is like more like on the more relaxed side, and then Miami, I feel like you were like in the city of Miami.
So, I mean,
or kind of like the outskirts.
Yeah, I would say like the outskirts. It's called like South Miami. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more like suburban, a little bit more like chill. It's not like so crazy. It's not like South Beach, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But when you were young, you probably like snuck to like the clubs and stuff.
So for the majority of my high school, I was in North Carolina.
Oh,
so like for
okay.
high school and stuff, yeah. But I was sneaking out of like second story windows and like just doing hood rat shit.
Yeah, no, literally same.
Everyone gets into trouble.
But I was just like envisioning if I like grew up in Miami, like the trouble that I'd be in. I'd be like at 11 at like age
all my
15.
cousins. I mean, like me and like my cousins had like vastly different like experiences growing up. Like they were doing that. They were like going to Ultra at like fucking 15 and like doing Molly with their little friends.
Yeah.
And I was like out like mudding in the sticks. Like
yeah, no, I can see that because you're so close to everything. It's almost like I feel like you grow up fast. Like those who grew up in New York City or Miami or whatever big city, it's like you are 15, but you're really like 22.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's interesting because I moved back to Miami when I was 17 after I had graduated high school to go to college. Mm-hmm. And I went into college at 17. And so like I still feel like I got to kind of grow up in Miami as well. And like obviously going to the clubs underage at 17, it's like, you know, you grow up so fast. And like I think that's why like that life, you know, I got it over with. You know, it's nice, got it done with. Never need to do it again, sort of thing.
Oh, I know. Yeah, to even like think of clubs in Miami, I'm just like, oh,
it's actually my worst nightmare.
Even do it.
My worst nightmare.
Yeah, like just like all of the people, and then like just the fog and like all of the chaos. Like, oh,
and everyone's so young and like sprightly, and I'm like, love that for you. Go do it. Go experience it. I'll be at home, or I'll be like at like a more of a I don't get me wrong, I love going out, I love a bar, but you know, just the club it's not for me.
Yeah, exactly. Like something like low key.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're getting old. You're like, I cannot be bothered in the club. Like, no, thank you.
And I do. I still like really enjoy having like a nice work-life balance and like getting out and enjoying myself. And, you know, I love a good dive bar. That's my scene.
Yeah. Oh my God. And like football Sundays. I don't even watch football, but like the idea of being like in front of like the game, eating chicken wings and drinking a beer just seems so wholesome to me.
It's elite.
Okay, so I'm going to guess the flow of your career, and I want to say that I want to like discuss like social media getting a following, but I feel like this stemmed from you doing photography. I'm going to play like
I guess this is the guessing game now.
The guessing game.
Everyone place your bets. So I actually started off modeling.
Dang it. Yeah. All right, I was close.
I like didn't like take up photography like seriously until like I don't know, like 6 years ago.
Okay.
So I was originally modeling and I was, you know, modeling in Miami. It kind of just like fell into my lap. And then as I was modeling, I started posting the photos on Instagram, kind of using that as like this digital portfolio. And then I realized that people were getting sent free stuff. And I was like, oh, I want free stuff. And so I was reaching out to these brands and I was saying like, hey, I'm, you know, working with this photographer. I'd love if you like sent me some bikinis and we'll send you all these photos for free. And, you know, I started getting sent free stuff. And then I realized that like you could start charging for posts and like charging for this content. And so that was when I like invested in my first real camera and like started like shooting with girlfriends. And so like instead of like having to rely on photographers for content and things of that nature, we just started shooting ourselves. And then started realizing that you could, you know, charge for posts and content, and started kind of doing that, and it kind of just snowballed to what it is today.
Wow. Okay. Well, you are definitely like a savvy businesswoman because there's a lot of people that get a following and they just don't think like the necessary steps that you thought, you know?
Well, for me, it's
yeah.
the following is just like it's like a perk. Like for me, it was always about like the business side of it. And, you know, if I wasn't monetizing my social media, I don't feel like I'd even be on it because I think it's a tricky, you know, career because you do have to be online 24/7. Not to say that it's not easy, because it's like I would choose this job over anything like every time. Like it's, you know, in a landslide. And I feel really, really, really blessed and grateful to be able to do what I do, because it's, you know, it's what so many people, you know, aspire to do and want to do. And it gives me a lot of flexibility. But, yeah, it was always about monetizing and, you know, being able to, I was working different jobs. I was working in marketing agencies, as like social media manager. And I was, you know, doing different like PR internships. And, I just realized that I hated working for people. I was like, I don't know if I have problems with authority, but this is absolutely not for me.
Problems with authority. I love it. No, well, it makes sense now because you obviously will get into it more like gradually, but you have so much going on and you truly are like an entrepreneur. And I think like that quality of you not wanting to be told what to do is a great quality for a leader.
I would agree, because it kind of like forces you into the position.
Yeah.
And like, maybe it, you know, comes from my dad being a Marine and whatnot, and kind of, you know, I also like, I did martial arts from a very, very young age, and that taught you a lot of like leadership and discipline properties. But yeah, I just kind of always like naturally wanted to lead, even if it like, you know, even like let's say like last night I had a peer space booking. Like someone came and rented my apartment for like this photo shoot they were doing. And I was downstairs the entire time with them, like helping them direct it, creatively direct it. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I like should be letting you guys do your own thing. And they were like, no, we love it. Please stay. And it's just like, and I think that, you know, being quote unquote like a leader or entrepreneur or whatever, I think it kind of just bleeds into every aspect of your life and like how you choose to live your life. You know what I mean? Like past, you know, bossing people around, it's kind of like more of like the principles of how I choose to like help others, like being a leader and helping others, and, you know, choosing to do what's right, speaking up for people who can't speak up for themselves. Like, you know what I mean? It just bleeds into a lot of different facets of how I choose to live.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, I feel like now that I even know that you use your home for the photo shoots, Pure Space or whatever. Yeah, and like you just have multiple streams of income coming. I think that is the coolest thing, because there's so many people that just live this comfortable life and they don't put themselves out there and they don't network and they don't really believe in themselves. And you're like, I'm going to do everything and I'm going to do it well. And I think that is like so inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's just I wish I could like attribute that to like anything, but I think it's just that like, one, I don't know. It's just like, I think it just comes like kind of innately. And I learned like really early on that like you need to have multiple streams of income, especially if you just want to live a more like free lifestyle. And not to mention, it keeps things really like fun and exciting. Like, you know, having a bunch of people come into my house and seeing them like transform my space into something else. Like it's inspirational and it's fun, and you get to meet really cool people doing a bunch of different things, like even like podcasting and like being here and having these conversations that we're having. Like, you know, I'd never have this opportunity like otherwise, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think LA has a lot of really cool people. And one of my resolutions this year is to like start hanging out with like new people who bring value to my life. You know, you don't have to bring value to my life, but like teach me something, or like
some sort of value, whether that be like happiness, inspiration, joy. Like, obviously, like if they're not bringing anything to you, it's kind of like, you know, life in and of itself is a bit like transactional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like not just more people who have like depth to them and something going on. Maybe they do something similar to me, maybe different, but like, I'm like, I've been in LA for a couple of years now. I'm like, I need to hang out with more people. Yeah. And so, yeah, just like meeting with you or anyone coming on the podcast, I like listen to the story and I'm like, oh my God, this person is so cool. I'm like, I just want to have like dinner and just like brainstorm life, you know?
And I like, since I moved, that was like one of my like resolutions when moving to LA. And I moved here full time like 6 months ago. And it's been so fun. Like, I've always had like social media friends, like, you know, business owners, whatever it might be. And like actually meeting up with them and saying, let's go get coffee, let's go get lunch, let's film a podcast, whatever it may be, has been so nice. And it just really does like open your eyes to like how many like cool people, like amazing people, like it keeps you inspired, you know, because I know like personally, like even like one wrong night out where you meet like kind of shitty people will have you feeling so discouraged and so like hopeless, but like one good positive conversation can like completely shift your perspective.
No, that is really true. I mean, it's crazy because yeah, I just feel like LA in particular. I used to live in New York City, and I feel like we all sort of just like worked for people, and we like climbed the corporate ladder, and we were hustlers. I went to LA, and like everyone has like their own business and like their own thing going on.
Everyone's a podcaster.
Everyone's a podcaster,
which honestly, like slay. I love it.
Yeah, and you have to have like some sort of like something going on to be a podcaster, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like
I don't know.
To be
some people decide to have one anyways, but
oh my god,
honestly I do. I respect it, and I respect like anyone who feels like they have anything to share, you know, like even if it's like not of value, like that's so value is like subjective, you know, like people can find value in so many different things.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so I actually have like a question, which is funny because I have model clients, but I've never asked them, when you're a model, how do you get a following? Is it because the modeling agency reposts you? I've never asked this before.
Yeah, no worries. No, I would say like the modeling agencies have very little bearing on your like social media success. If you're a model and you gain a following, one, I'd say it's a lot trickier in this current digital era to gain a following. I gained a following very, very early on, like before the term influencer was even coined. And that was because social media was different back then. And like I was getting reposted by, you know, different pages. I really grew my following from like, you know, like frat pages and like stuff like that reposting me originally. Like that's kind of like what kickstarted me, was like, I was like total frat moves, like babe of the day and shit like that. Yeah.
I kind of love that.
Yeah, no, like, and against my will. No, I don't complain because it is how I got my following. But, you know, that was like how you kind of like did it back in the day. Like I was just like, you know, cute little college girl and was getting reposted. And then, you know, my little bikini photos were, you know, popping up everywhere. Like that's kind of how it was going. But I think that in this day and age, how I see models kind of gaining a following on social media is mostly utilizing TikTok and, you know, sharing. Honestly, it's just like, I don't know if they're doing like, you know, how to pose or these types of, you know, different tips and tricks to gain a following, but rather just like sharing their beauty. And then people, you know, doing these little trends and things of that nature. And then people kind of going from their TikTok to their Instagram is how I see it now. But I'm honestly pretty far removed from the modeling industry. I very like rarely model anymore.
Yeah, I feel like everybody, especially when you realize how easy it is to get money from social media, you're like,
oh, I mean, I can make like off of one post what I would like have to make in multiple days as a model.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've heard it. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, I won't turn down a job because, you know, like money's money, but it's just like a completely different ball game.
You're just more like selective with who you shoot with. You know, if it's obviously like a dream brand and kind of cool and good money, then but it's not something you're going to like solely live off of.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know if you can these days.
I know.
Like,
it is.
Like my friends that are models, like constantly like come to me and ask me like, how do I grow a following? I need to like become an influencer. I need to like make money off of social media, because it's just, modeling is not enough. Not to mention the industry is just so cutthroat and so like, you know, it's the wild, wild west.
I know, it's so true. And so traditional, like they'll never evolve. The
agencies like, what are we doing?
Like the agencies are literally the same as they've always been. It's like no time has changed. Like past, nothing has changed, and, then, and it's wild.
Like, you know, these accounts like Shit Model Management are like exposing, you know, the people who should be blacklisted in the community, and then like it goes viral. Yet those people are still working.
I know, it's
like,
wild.
I had an agent who I was with Elite Miami, and then I was with the Industry LA, and you know, I won't name names, but my agent who brought me to both of those, like, when I was very, very young, I was, 21, 22, looked at me, and I've always been very, very thin, very like sick thin. Like, I was bullied for, looking anorexic in high school and things of that nature. And she looked at me and she's like, okay, we're going to need to shave like around 2 to 4 inches off your hips. And I was like, these are my bones.
Oh my
She's
God.
like, I need you doing Pilates 4 times a week, blah, 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 blah. Like, put me on this regimen. And I was like, I remember like, luckily I like, didn't have low self-worth, because that would have, you say that to the wrong person and it, can really derail them.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, you're fucking crazy. Like, I literally can't lose weight. It would be so incredibly unhealthy. And I never did lose weight. I've only gained weight since then. And she was blacklisted from the industry because she was such a bitch, yet she's still working in the industry, and like, it doesn't matter because the modeling industry just won't evolve.
It is like the craziest thing. I'm like, you guys are like stuck. And then I know some like influencers who sign with like these agencies, and I'm like for social media stuff. And
oh my
I'm
God,
like,
no. All my friends, I'm like, don't you dare sign anything with a modeling agency to like get near your socials. It's just like, that's like probably one of the worst things you could do.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
I'm like, but if you must. You know what it is? It's because people get wowed by the like flashy name.
Yeah.
The big name.
And I think that if you're really, high up with them and you're one of their favorites, honestly, then I think that it can be lucrative and it can be a positive thing. But for me, I was never a supermodel. I was never a favorite. It took me a long time to get signed. And I was very much like, I don't know, like, they just did not like me. So for me, signing, to these contracts did me a much bigger disservice, because then I couldn't work out of contract, and I was making a lot more money outside of contract than I was in it.
Yeah, they are like very crazy about that kind of stuff. It's like,
oh my God, they would come for me, and I would still try to like do these little shoots on the side, because I'm like, I literally have bills to pay, and you're not getting me anything, and they would come for me and like still request their 20%, and I'm like, I'm just trying to keep my lights on.
I know, but you live and you learn.
Yeah.
And now you're like behind
very,
you.
very far removed.
Yeah. And then, okay, so moving along the photography thing, did you sort of like start like shooting as a hobby, and you're like, okay, I'm really into this and want to turn it into a career somehow?
Yeah. So when I was doing like, influencing and having my friends shooting me, and then I would shoot my friends, and then I was like, wait, I really, really like these photos. And then I would like edit them, and like I was constantly shooting my friends like just for fun. And then brands would start sending me, their product, and I was like, hey, I can actually like, if you're tired of like me shooting these on me, I can like start shooting my friends. I'll just need a little extra budget to like pay them. And they were like, okay, great. So then I like started shooting my friends and like did what was like now referred to as like UGC sort of content. And then, delivering that. And then it kind of just like snowballed. So I was like shooting my best friend, Olivia, a lot. And like she was like my main model. And then I basically approached her and I was like, dude, we should do a content creation agency. Because like I think that I was like making pretty good money because I had these clients on retainer. And I was like, instead of like, me paying you every single shoot, we'll just like split the profits. You'll help me, I'll help you, we'll both model, we'll both shoot sort of situation. And that was how our agency, Mood the Agency, was born.
What? Okay, what year was this?
Oh my God, 2020. Our podcast was launched in 2019 and the agency was launched in 2020.
And what was, I guess just going back, what was the idea for the podcast?
So Olivia and I were like kind of came up in the industry together, very similar journeys, like literally everything we were doing together. Any shoot that like was going on, we'd be like, do you guys need another model? Like, cause we were trying to like work together constantly. And it worked. Like we had really similar like vibes, worked together really well. And that's kind of how we became best friends. And then, we were just modeling, influencing, and we were like, damn, like I was like trying to convince her. I was like, I feel like we have so much more to offer than just like posting photos of our bodies on Instagram, like love it. It's great. It's fun. Yeah. But like, I just feel like called some more. And so we started this podcast, and it was originally a like lifestyle, dating, sex, XYZ, anything kind of podcast. And it was so fun. Like we had really cool guests on. We like kind of talked about whatever we wanted. And then we did that for about 2 years, started feeling uninspired. And then we had launched our agency. And at the same time, we were like, we should rebrand into like a female entrepreneurship and like women in business, because like now we're launching this agency from the ground up, like no money, like our own money. Let's talk about like literally like as vulnerable as we can be, the ins and outs of growing this company by ourselves. And so then we rebranded, and I remember how much imposter syndrome there was. I was like, this is like kind of embarrassing. Like, how am I going to talk about like female entrepreneurship, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, looking back, I'm so glad that we did, because it absolutely like shaped the direction of, you know, where our careers went. So it's been a female entrepreneurship and women in business podcast for the last 2 years. And then a year ago this month, almost like probably to the day, we launched Socially Ambitious, which is our digital product company, our first digital product being the Influencer's Assistant course. And then, so just recently, we've decided to rebrand our podcast again.
You're evolving.
I'm always evolving. Like, that's really like our theme. We are rebranding the podcast from Whiskey and Water, which is what it was called previously, into the Socially Ambitious podcast, because even just like in our, you know, journey with the podcast and the agency, like what we just typically began to speak about more and more was social media, you know, digital media, Instagram, TikTok, influencing, influencers' assistants. And we're like, we should just make this under the umbrella of Socially Ambitious, because we really just want to like invest a lot into this in this community.
Wow. I mean, you are literally incredible.
Oh my God.
Does Olivia have like the same sort of like drive that you do and like thoughts and ideas?
Absolutely.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah. There's, you know, you
not that you would say she doesn't, but sometimes people bring in
she's
like
incredible.
Different.
Like she's, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not like incredibly grateful for like the universe like placing her into my life, because she is the reason that like we've gotten anything done today. Like she's like my soundboard, she's my rock. She like, you know, she's the only reason that we've gotten this far.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet.
Yeah.
She probably says the same about you too. You guys
Maybe.
are like,
no, I'm kidding. Yeah, I would hope so.
But okay, so working with your best friend, what are like the negatives? Have y'all like, gone through it? Like boundaries crossed?
You know, I think something that we discovered really, really early on, thankfully, which, you know, was launching the podcast. And, you know, the podcast was a very like low stakes business. You know, a lot of decisions, you know, as you know, a lot of decisions need to be made, but it's not like high stakes. It's not like live or die, right? And there's not a ton of money involved. So it was a really good way for us to like hammer out like these little nuances of working together and these little speed bumps, so that when we launched Mood, it was like completely smooth sailing. Like, don't get me wrong, like sometimes we'll like butt heads, but I think that, again, like kind of referring to what I was saying earlier about like, you know, what we learned early on was like looking at someone's intentions, right? Like we've never once like been like, what is this bitch doing? Like, why would she do that? XYZ. It's like, no, we always have the best intentions in mind. Like, and if we're fighting for something, if we're like feeling really strongly about it, that's good. Like you're supposed to feel really strongly about your business, and like you're supposed to protect what you think is the best decision. So even when we do like kind of butt heads, which is really rare, one of us just typically like concedes, because one, it's like never that big of a deal. And if you feel that strongly about it, I trust you. Like that's why you're my business partner. Like I trust you and your judgment.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah. Because I know a lot of people that go into business with somebody, and it starts with maybe they were friends, maybe they weren't friends, but it starts with an idea that they both believe in. But it's almost like when you start a relationship or like live with a best friend, you really don't know until you're like in the nitty gritty of it all.
Yeah, no,
and
absolutely.
then you're like, oh my God, you are crazy.
For sure. And like she, like, I genuinely, I can't say enough good things about her. She is, like when I say she's like my rock, she really is. Like she's the business's rock. I'm the one that's crazy. Like I'm the one that's like probably a little bit harder to put up with. She's like our podcast was called Whiskey and Water for a reason, and she was water, and I've always been whiskey. And she's always kept me very grounded, and like, even like, I really do, like, I attribute like almost all of my like success and even like emotional intelligence to her, because early on she opened me up to like a world that I didn't know existed. Like having a Marine father, like going through, my parents divorced when I was really young. It was really toxic, being bullied. I had this really, really, really tough exterior, and I was like projecting a lot of my insecurities. And, these things manifest in so many different ways, even like in business, and she had so much grace with me through it all that I think it just really allowed me to develop, and like shed those layers of like bullshit that I wasn't, like, of someone who I wasn't, to really allow my authentic self to shine. And so I think, some people say don't work with your best friend, and I think that that's true for a lot of people. I think I just got really lucky.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds amazing, and I love it. Almost was like the universe brought her to you.
Yeah.
To, like, I don't want to say save you, but help you grow.
She did save me. Like, she did save me.
Yeah.
And that girl has saved me like a million times since. Like, and she continues to save me. Like, even like through this breakup, like, and her and I don't even like, we don't like FaceTime every day. And, it's not like, we're not like up each other's asses, but it's, she even like will just send me like this most simple text message. And I'm like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Like,
gosh.
She does. She like saves me on a consistent basis.
Yeah. I mean, I love that, because it is hard to find genuine people. And so when you find a good one, it's like, wow, you found like a lifer, you guys will be each other's like maid of honor, and like through it all. And and then working together. I mean, that sounds perfect. Like a soul sister.
No, she is 100%. And I'm not her maid of honor. It's her sister. She's getting married in April.
Okay, that's the only exception. That's the only exception. Is everyone, the sister.
All my friends are like, "Are you so excited to be her maid of honor?" And I'm like, Noelle, you're really messing this up for me.
The fact I didn't even know I don't even know who Olivia is, by the way, guys. I'm like, how is Olivia doing?
Yeah, I know.
And I did not know she was engaged.
Yeah, so we're doing her bachelorette next month, and then she's getting married in April. Wow. And this is my Super Bowl. I'm so excited. But gosh. I'm blessed, honestly, to have her in my life.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Now, I mean, I'm just like literally blown away at all of these ideas, because even like you turning like an agency into like a UGC agency before UGC was a thing. I'm like, are you like a trend forecaster? It's wild.
Well, shit. I think maybe back then I was. Now I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know, because then we did launch the Socially Ambitious, thing, but
which is another thing I'm blown away by. I mean, everything you touch, I'm like,
oh my
God.
Stop
because
it. You're gassing me up too
fill
much.
voids. Like, there's voids. Okay, the social media industry has been so, like, no one knows what they're doing. We're all just, like, running around.
Yeah.
Like, we're just trying to figure it out.
Me too, though.
And you have great ideas.
Thank you. I think it's, like, again, and I wish that, like, I had, like, a sort of, like, formula. Even, like, to this day, though, like, I still, like, find myself, like, should I post this? What do I caption this? Like, even on TikTok, like, I struggle. I'm like, what's my niche? I haven't been consistent enough. What am I posting about? Is this of value? Like, but again, it's simply just like, I think that just like really immersing yourself in this space, it'll just come a bit more naturally to you. Like, it's like anything you do is gonna feel foreign at the beginning. I just happen to have been doing this for 10 years. Like, I wouldn't attribute that success to, like, anything else. I don't think I'm, like, a guru. I just think I've been doing it for 10 years. And anyone that's been doing something for 10 years is going to, have a good grip on the space.
I personally, and I feel like I always say things that people don't agree, but I think you were born with it.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
I just think certain people have traits that they're born with, and you can't really, like, you can't give them to someone or teach them to someone. Yeah. I think it's just who you are.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. Especially like, especially with like the leadership kind of stuff and like the discipline kind of thing. Like, I do get it, but it's kind of nature versus nurture.
Yeah. Okay, so the agency, how did you guys, gosh, I feel like I wish we had 3 hours. How did you guys start getting, so you and Olivia start the like UGC agency?
Yeah.
And then are you just reaching out to your like model friends to like start shooting and stuff?
Yeah, that's
using
exactly
contacts?
it.
Yeah.
So I was using the contacts, one from the brand side, like of, brands that I had done collabs with that I knew had budget, right? So like that was how I was securing clients. And then we were just reaching out to like all of our little model and influencer friends who like were so fortunate, are like so amazing and so beautiful that it was like so easy. We created a little roster. We'd send that roster to the brands. They would choose. We would like, we would always get together almost once a week with like all of our girlfriends to shoot content for Instagram. And, during those days, we would just like, shoot a few photos with our friends. And like, that was like a day's work.
I love it. And then Socially Ambitious, how did this idea, okay, let's just say what it is.
Yeah.
So you say what it is.
So
I'm like trying to, because I thought it's like it's a course, but I thought you were like actually matching.
Okay, yeah. So Socially Ambitious is the umbrella company under which we're going to launch multiple courses. Our first course that we've launched is the Influencer's Assistant course. So it's a completely like self-guided course. Like we created it, filmed it, and they can take it like by themselves, like whoever, wants to become an influencer's assistant. And it teaches them A to Z. Like if you've like never gotten on Instagram, it'll teach you what you need to know. Like you don't need to be like influencer savvy, anything like that. And it's a completely like remote thing that they can do. And one of the perks of it is that because we have this network of influencers, they hit us up all the time. Can we hire one of your assistants? So what we do is like, let's say you reached out and you're like, hey, Jess, I want one of your socially ambitious influencer assistants. I send you a little hiring form that says like, hey, these are the hours I'm looking for. These are the kind of tasks I need help with, like video editing, brand pitching, brand sourcing, whatever it might be, trend sourcing. We pop it in the Facebook group of graduates, and graduates can apply if they feel like it's a good fit for them. We're kind of hands off. Like it's like, it's kind of like we don't guarantee hiring because, someone could take it and like just absolutely not apply anything. And, it's kind of out of our hands at that point. And, we don't want to like, it's a bit tricky, like placing people directly. Like we're not like a recruitment agency, hiring agency. But we just felt like that'd be like a nice perk for people to have.
No, I mean, I feel like it's such a need. Yeah. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, you need an assistant. And it's not even because they don't have enough hours in the day. I think some people just don't want to do it.
No, that's me. Yeah. Like, no, I just want to enjoy my life. And I think I have 4 or 5 assistants. And they're not like full time. It's not like I have a fucking huge ass team behind me, but like they do different things, right? So I have a specific content creation assistant. So all she does is we have an iCloud shared album. I send her content. She gets that content live on my platforms. I don't even look at it. I don't do anything. Like she's just a content creation assistant. And then she sends me a weekly trend list of like things that are like popping off, things that I should know about, like things that I can recreate. So that's like one assistant. And she does like 5 hours a week. It's nothing crazy. Wow. And she works for Olivia as well. And then I have an assistant who just does like my Poshmark and my Depop and, handles that. And then I have like an LA IRL assistant, like that helps, like comes to my house, will help me do things, will help me run errands. And then I have an admin assistant who is like my closest assistant. And that's like that's the closest thing to like what Socially Ambitious is. And she works around 10 to 15 hours a week for me. And she does my entire inbox. She does, the follow-ups, the negotiations, the invoicing. She makes sure I get paid, all that. And then I think lastly, I have an assistant who, and these are all course graduates. Every single one of them is a course graduate who she just does brand pitching. So I pay her $500 a month and she does 100 to 110 brand pitches per month for me to help me secure collaborations.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I have like star eyes right now. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I need it. I've been saying this for so long.
I love putting people onto this life. Delegation like is the only reason that I'm able to like have all the streams of income that I do.
Yeah.
Like delegation is so important, especially if you want to scale and also enjoy your life as an entrepreneur. Like it's unavoidable.
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing is a lot of business owners are like type A, where we're like almost like, well, I mean, the amount
I
of
was
time
like that once.
like it'll take me this amount of time to teach you where I could just do it myself.
100%.
It's like the process of moving everything over to somebody.
Yeah.
And then a big thing too, and I know this because I have employees, so I've had to deal with this like in an agency sort of capacity. If you teach them everything that you know and then they quit or they leave.
So, you know, when we launched Mood, at one point, like we were a full service marketing agency. Like we expanded to social media, influencer campaigns, and something else I can't remember. But we had that issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that it kind of comes down to like, one, trusting who you're working with. We do have like non-competes and, you know, things like that in place. Like, you know, you can't take our client list and, you know, whatnot. But we actually, you know, that happened to us multiple times. Even the girl who I pay $500 a month, she was our project manager at our agency. And she ended up leaving us and starting her own influencer agency. And but like we're still like, you know, we've found ways to work together, and you know it's no bad blood, you know, like we cheer people on. There's like room for everyone to eat. Obviously, if you're like doing it with malice and like coming like for our clients and stuff like that, like, you know, maybe you've crossed a line and maybe it's time to say something. But we like have fostered such amazing relationships, as I'm sure you have, with the people that you work with, that there's a level of trust and respect.
Yeah, no, there is. There definitely is. Well, I've come to realize like you can't keep the same people forever.
You can't.
Like I wanted to like take them to the grave with me, but I realized like that's just not a thing.
Yeah.
So I've come to terms with it.
They gotta grow. They gotta fly.
I know. I'm like, I thought you would just stay with me,
I know.
but things happen.
I've cried.
You know?
Like when people, like when almost all of our employees, when they leave us, like I'm like tearing. I'm like, don't leave us. I love you. And like they're like family at that point. But it's been like so amazing to like see them grow, and like even, you know, the girl that is doing my brand partnerships, like she has like put on for us so hard. Like she is so intensely grateful and like says all the time, like, I would not be here without you guys. And even just like that alone, like fills my cup up so much that we've, you know, been able to give her the lifestyle that she's like always wanted, and, you know, allowed her to like launch her own business and work for herself. Like that's all we want, you know, like I don't think we can ask much more in this life than to like inspire others and help them live the life that they want.
Yeah, I do love it, but it's just, I think like it's just change too. Like I hate change, and like you look at everything and how it is, and one day you're like, everything is so perfect and I think this is the best that's ever been. Yeah. And then it's just inevitable that it'll look different down the road, you know?
Yeah, but I think, and I have this issue of like when things are doing really well or things are going really good, I'm like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Oh yeah, always.
And I've like kind of been working through rewiring that, because like you just simply like, it's really hard to appreciate the highs without the lows. It really is. And like there's even so much beauty in like in the change and in the lows. Like I think it's just about perspective and like, you know, just learning to roll with it and like appreciate every stage for what it is. And you never know what's on the other side of that evolution. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was beautifully said.
Thanks.
That'll be a nice cut for the for the social platform.
Get those numbers, all right?
I was like, that was nicely done. Yeah, no, I agree, because it's just like if people leave, or even if clients leave, in my mind, it's like I'm sad to see anybody go, but it's like, well, it's like creating space to welcome what's meant to come in.
100%.
People, yeah. I mean, it just is what it is. Like everybody, it's like the nice flow of people, the reshuffle, my boyfriend calls it.
Have you ever fired a client?
I mean, okay, listen, I'm a people pleaser.
Oh, are you?
Whose interview is this?
Okay, no, I just need to know.
No, I mean, sometimes it's gotten down to a point where it's like we just know it's not working out, because it just sometimes gets down to that, you know. Sometimes influencers, when they've been doing it for 10 years like yourself, they get into this like burnout state where they're just not into it anymore. Yeah. And for us, it's like if we're missing deadlines, it's like things just come up and happen, but I haven't like actually sat someone down and I'm like, I don't know. I'm a people pleaser. I try to like, if we are having trouble securing stuff for them because they're not evolving in the industry, then I'll say, you know, maybe we can just like take time. You can work on your account. I always do things like the best way in my eyes. Never like,
you never want to burn a bridge.
I never want to burn a bridge.
Yeah, no, and that's great. But, you know, kind of along the same vein of what you were saying, like, you know, allowing space for new things to come in. I'm a huge proponent of like firing clients or like removing a friendship if it's not and removing anything in your life that's not serving you, because I do think it makes so much more space for what's truly aligned with you. And I think that the universe recognizes that, because I think if you like continue to stay with things that aren't fully serving you and aren't like completely aligned, then you're showing the universe like what you're willing to put up with, and it's never gonna like reward you for that, you know?
I mean, it's so true. In the beginning, like years ago, if I had like an employee leave or a client leave, I would be so upset. I'd be so butthurt, and my COO would be like, you always get like this, and then it just somebody else comes in that you
and then
love.
It's always better.
Yeah, I did want to say that. I don't know who's listening,
no, it is.
I mean, it's true.
And
like
better is like subjective. You know, it doesn't mean that like they weren't great, because I mean, of course, you mourned like their leaving and mourned their loss, and like that's even how I feel about like this relationship and this breakup that I'm going through. Like, of course, I loved him, and like, don't get me wrong, sucks to not like have that reciprocated, but this isn't my first rodeo. This isn't my first breakup. Yeah. I've survived every time, and I've survived, and I've been better like every single, like I've never not been better after a relationship. Like, you know, it's, I don't know, it's just like simply like, it's like it's like gravity. Like you glow up, you find someone that's more aligned, you have more, like everything just happens for a reason, and everything is like happening for like your highest, most divine path. Yeah,
it's so true. I mean, I could like listen to you forever. I'm like,
Thank you.
Like so dazed. I'm like, yes, you're so right, girl. I'm like, somebody get her on stage.
Me, you, coffee next week. I love talking.
I know. I'm just,
and I want to know more about you as well. I'll have to have you on our podcast.
I am so down for a swap.
We need it.
Yeah, I'm so down. But I mean, I'm just like love listening, because I feel like you're so wise too.
Thank you.
How old are you?
Oh my God, that like really means a lot to me. Thank you.
I feel like
because I wasn't
you're
always
an old
this.
soul.
Oh my God, you're like, I'll come on your podcast anytime you want. I just turned 28.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're not as young as I was saying. I was like,
how young did you?
Well, you know, when like the old, like some people are really like old souls, and they're like 24, and they're just like, and I'm like,
no.
Well, you're literally older than I am. Like, what, like in their soul. But I do feel like you have. Well, you know what? Maybe it came with like just experiences in your life.
I think it did, honestly.
Where you just had to. For me, it's like I've overcome a lot where I'm like, okay, I have to like deal with it in a way that I don't sit in the negativity. Yeah. I'm like, it's a learning, and I have to move forward. Mm-hmm. That's the only way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can't. I mean, you can stay stagnant. And like, you know, you can stay stagnant for a little bit, you know, like you can give yourself like room and space to like go through whatever you need to be going through. But like ultimately at the end of the day, it's about putting one foot in front of the other and pushing on, because no one's going to do it for you. I think that was like one of the biggest realizations for me, is that like no one's going to pick me up out of bed and force me to work. Like I was someone who would like, you know, back in the day when I was going through like toxic relationships and toxic breakups, like I would allow myself to like rot and like starve and not take care of myself and do those things. But, you know, just through growing up and like, it's crazy, like comparing myself now in this, like, you know, in the thick of this breakup versus me 5 years ago in a toxic breakup, like just completely different people. So it just gets better. It only gets better.
Oh my God, wait till you're 30. It's like there's nothing better than being 30. You're already wise now.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
Wouldn't have guessed.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I thought you were like, I thought you were my age, 28.
I love hearing that. But yeah, no, I feel like I was so young. Like when I was 28, I was in such a toxic relationship, but it was one of those things that like I kept going back.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, I would literally just kept going back to this person. They'd be like, I won't do it again, or like things will change. And then I'm like, oh, fine, sure. And then it would like happen again. And it was so toxic. And now in my 30s, I'm like, you do me wrong. My standards are so high.
It's cutthroat.
It's like, if you do me wrong, I'm moving on. Like, that's it. Yeah. I don't have time. My life is just moving forward, and I'm not pausing for anybody.
And I think it comes from a place of like self-love. And I know that's so cliche, but like when I was in these toxic, I swear to God, I was in this relationship. I let this man break up with me 10 times.
Wow.
Like 10 genuine breakups, and I took him back every time because I was manipulated and I was gaslighted into thinking that I was the problem. Like he'd break up with me and be like, I can't do this anymore, you're XYZ, yet he'd always come back to me and say like, no, let's work this out. And then finally when I like didn't take him back, you know, it just like it changed everything. And it's because like I was allowing that to happen because I hated myself. I had zero love for myself. And again, you know, like I can also attribute some of that to like the manipulation I was, you know, encountering and gaslighting. Like some of that was kind of a little bit out of my hands. Gaslighting wasn't even a word then. So it's like I didn't even have the proper tools to know how to like identify these behaviors. But like now, oh, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's literally no, I like look back and I'm like, I like thank my friends to this day that like put up with me through that. Because it was Olivia. Like it got to a point where Olivia was like, you can't talk to me about this anymore because I've like told you what you need to do and you refuse to like stand up. You got to get up for yourself now. And that was kind of like when I realized I was like, oh shit, like I'm like embarrassing myself right now.
I know. I had those friends too, where you get to a place too where you can't even talk to anyone about anything.
No, it's so
if something
isolating.
bad happens, you have to just keep it to yourself because like no one's going to listen anymore.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and if you're in that place, like if anyone in the audience is in that place, it's time to walk away. Yeah. If you can't talk to your friends about it because it's like you're at that point, then it's kind of irredeemable.
I mean, nothing changes.
It's not worth fighting for at that rate.
Literally nothing changes. Okay, do you look back on your ex and like has he grown? Like, does he seem like he's in the same space that he was then?
Yeah.
I feel like I look back at my ex and I'm like, in the past, like, however, 5 years, I've grown so much, like career, like everything moved. And I look back and he's doing the same thing.
No, he's doing the same.
Right? They like stay stagnant in their life.
We've been broken up for like 5 years. He's like around a year ago, he sent me a 20-minute video, like documentary style, like apologizing / begging for me back. But he's also trying to be a rapper, so the rap music was in the background of that 20-minute video. It was like record scratch. I'm sure you're wondering how I got here.
No, stop it.
And also he didn't just send that to me. He sent it to everyone who was like, who experienced our relationship. I actually looked at the video the other day because I was telling my friend about it and how crazy it is. Yeah. It has 300 views on YouTube.
Oh my God.
That's how much it's been viewed by people. But yeah, so no, he's in the same place. Yeah. And that's exactly where he deserves to be.
I'm glad that you can relate to that because I think that all the time my friends are like, oh, I ran out, like in New York, I ran into XYZ and I'm like, he is not changed. Yeah. Like he's doing the same thing, right? He's exactly where I left him. It's a
blessing in disguise. Like,
it's
because
wild.
Like that person would have just held you back. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, I know.
Like, God forbid, like I was in the same place that I was 5 years ago. No,
insane.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, there's obviously, there's a reason why we like stayed in it for so long. Yeah. And I mean, it just, my friends were so, I feel like everyone has that one relation. If you have it and you're stronger, like, praise you.
Power to
like,
you. Power to you.
But it was almost like, I remember like reading this thing that Kate Moss said about her like boyfriend Pete in 2002. And she was like, he's in my fucking veins. Mm-hmm. Or he said that about her. And I was like, whoa, I felt that. Yeah. It's like one of those relationships that are so like old school, like rock and roll 90s. Like where it gives it like, it's exciting. It's a thrill.
It's a drug.
It's okay.
It really is.
And then you get like a normal relationship and it's like you almost feel like something's missing. Yeah. The like butterflies, even though it's not butterflies.
Yeah. Those butterflies are actually just like anxiety. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, no. Been there, done that. I'm so grateful to like have healed from that. And even like my last relationship, like I said, like my most recent one, so beautiful, so loving. Like it was, you know, and I there's nothing, you know, it's a bummer because, you know, like I think finding that is really rare, but if it's not it, it's just not it. And that's also okay because that means that there's like more in store for me.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so much, like, I'm excited to like see, like I said, I really genuinely believe that you have to focus on career right now.
Yeah.
and like whatever's meant to come will come. But sometimes it's hard to focus on love, or you get consumed in the love.
Yeah, no.
And it's hard to focus on like
fully do.
leveling up, you know?
For sure. I mean, I have so much more time now.
Yeah,
I'm like tear coming down my cheek. I'm like, I have so much more time. I love this.
Just bury yourself in your work, and when you least expect it, you'll like run into whoever you're meant to connect with in divine timing, and everything will work out.
Everything that's meant to be will be.
So last few questions. Number one, hypothetically, I want to get an assistant.
Yeah.
If you guys are like, if people like come to you wanting an assistant, like what are next steps?
Yeah, I just send you like the hiring form. You're like, no, I need one. We just send you the hiring form and you'll fill it out. We'll post it in the Facebook group.
Okay.
People will apply to you. We send you like a little handbook, just like, you know, if you've hired before, so you understand hiring. But a lot of these people who are hiring, you know, the influencers who are hiring, this is like their first time ever delegating. So we send a little handbook over, just like some pointers, some tips and tricks. And yeah, and then, you know, people apply, you go through your, you know, interview process and, you know, decide who's best.
I mean, I love it. I just want like a little human following me around and like just being like my buddy and growing with me, and like at my wedding. I've always just like, you ever see those like reality TV shows with the assistants and you're like, they're just so close.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have the help. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, having support, delegating, because you really do get to a
second
place.
brain.
I know. And it's like, I tell myself every year, I'm like, I need help. And like, I have employees and they're amazing help, but an assistant is different.
It's different energy as well.
I don't want to give my I don't want them like making my meetings and calendar invites, because that's not their job. You know?
Exactly. And it kind of is a little hard getting past that like mental block, because you almost like feel bad like asking them to do stuff for you, but like once you realize that like it's just like the nature of things, and like, you know, that's the dynamic that they've signed up for and that you need, then like it's great, because you can have a really great relationship. I will literally send you that form as soon as we're done here. And
oh yeah, it's a serious inquiry.
It's the best, honestly. I love my assistants. Like, they're incredible. Like, I sent her some like videos today to like submit to brands, and she's like, oh my God, I love this content, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, it's just my girl.
Yeah. She's like hyping you. I'm here for you. And then they can be local to where you are, right?
Yeah. So I was going to say, we have a bunch in LA.
Okay.
We have a lot of girls who have graduated, because I was looking the other day. I wanted someone in person, because my other in-person assistant was just, she lives a little bit far, and it's just kind of getting inconvenient, and like I need someone a little bit closer. And I had a bunch of girls from, I didn't realize that were like in LA. So yeah, no, there's a ton especially like in the major cities, you know. It's kind of harder when you're like in the Midwest or something to find someone in person.
Oh yeah,
but
here everyone
in LA
wants
it's great.
to,
Yeah.
Dude, there's so many jobs and opportunities
Yeah.
and stuff. Okay, when you're getting an assistant, okay, last two questions here. Number one, if you're an influencer, would you recommend, like, is there a boundary where you're like, the assistant can't be an aspiring influencer? Is it like a gray area?
No, not at all. I mean, even when I had, with one of my past assistants, Olivia and I were encouraging her to become a micro influencer.
Okay.
And she ended up like, we were like, dude, take the contacts from our emails. Like, I don't mind. I don't care, as long as you don't say like, hey, I got this email from Jessica. She like reached out and she got like free PR and stuff. We were like, slay, get after it.
I love it. You take care of your people.
Yeah, no.
And I think that comes back to you too. So
For sure. And, you know, I like one time what was it? Peloton reached out and they were like, hey, we'd love to like gift you a bike, blah, blah, blah. And I told my assistant at the time, I was like, I don't really like totally use the Peloton, but I was like, I'll do the collab if you want it. And she was like, I would kill for that. And so I was able to get her like a $3,000 Peloton bike.
yeah, they're expensive.
Just by doing some content for them.
Oh my God, I love it. You're a genuine person. If you live in LA, be friends with this girl. She's so nice. It's just nice, because I feel like a lot of people don't want to help other people, or it's like there's a lot of like selfish people these days, and you want to take care of your people. You want to like, I feel like maybe giving is your love language, and it's nice and refreshing to hear and see that.
Yeah, I think I try to think a lot about like what, like, I think everyone does have an individual purpose on this planet, like whether it's like, you know, creating through a certain medium, whether it's, you know, create, like, just doing different things. Like, some people are meant to, like, teach and, like, work with children. Some people are meant to be doctors and, like, whatever it might be. And I think that I was just simply, like, put on this planet to, like, give to others and, like, inspire others. And I think that's why, like, the podcast was always, like, really natural for me. And I think that that's why, like, Socially Ambitious and, like, launching a course that, like, has helped change over, like, 250 women's lives. And, like, just hearing the messages of, like when someone, like, messages us and is like, this course changed my life. I was able to, like, quit my 9-to-5 that I hate. I'm able to, like, stay home and, like, work with my kids, or I'm able to, like, travel the world while working and making money. Like, that's really all I care about. Mm-hmm. Like, it's all that matters to me, is that, like, someone's life was able to, like, was improved by, like, by proxy, like, by something that I've created. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's literally, like, all I was put on this earth to do.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah. No, I mean, it's nice to help others for sure. Mm-hmm. And I feel like people just get so busy in their own life and just want everything for themselves that sometimes we lose sight of others around us and empathy and kindness and giving. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that you're, like, so in tune with that and just trying to help people, like, whenever you can.
Yeah. And that's not to say I don't have, like, selfish moments. Don't get me wrong.
She's human.
So I'm completely human, and I don't, like, and I know that, like, even, like, podcasts are simply, like, a highlight reel as well, and so is social media. But, like, you know, that's not to say that I didn't, like, cry today. That's not to say that I, like, don't have selfish moments. That's not to say that I don't make mistakes and that I don't, like, you know, fail sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But we're all human, and I think it's just giving ourselves grace and showing up as, like, the best version of ourselves anytime that we can.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And then for price range, mm-hmm. is it different depending on the influencer's, like, the assistant's experience?
Like, how much an assistant costs? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's set by the assistant, like, how much they want to charge for whatever they're doing. Okay. But the typical rate is anywhere from, like, $20 to $30 an hour. And we have some assistants that get paid $40 based on, like, different tasks. Like, if they're doing, like, social media management and, like, if they're doing, like, you know, some higher level type of stuff, $40 an hour. I pay all my assistants $25 an hour. Sometimes I pay them more if they're, like, on set with me and, like, they're driving to me and stuff, because I just mm-hmm. feel like that's fair, especially with gas prices these days.
Yeah.
So I like to, like, reimburse their gas, and, you know, obviously, like, I take care of, like, meals and things of that nature if necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just had, like, a vision. Would you turn this into, like, an app or something, or, like, what's like the future hold for the evolution of the company? Yeah.
I think that like honestly, like, the sky's the limit. Yeah. And this evolution has been extremely, extremely natural. Like, just an mm-hmm. extension of, like, what we've already been doing, like, came very, very natural. So I think it's, like, continuing just on that flow. Like, whatever feels natural is, like, kind of what we'll do. Mm-hmm. Right now we're working on a couple additional courses, still in the social media space. So, like, and we've announced that we've been working on a delegation course. So, like, for influencers who have never hired someone, or, like, a small business owner who doesn't necessarily know how to hire, doesn't know, like, you know, how to properly train someone, manage someone, payroll, like, the legalities, and, you know, like, how to set up an LLC, like, all these different little nuances of owning a business that we've learned the hard ways, mm-hmm. we're putting into a course to help people kind of, like, scale and grow.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I think just, like, do it, like, the journey, just feeling what's right. Yeah. I hate hearing people, like, rushing to get to the finish line. It's like, just enjoy the journey. And I think one day you wake up and you're like, this is a good idea, and you start implementing, and it's just natural.
I have, like, business ideas all the time. I write them down, and then, like, I'll sit on it for a while, and I'll say, like, okay, like, how is this feeling? Like, am I still feeling really called to it a week later? I'm actually working on a book as well. And this book is something that, like, again, came to me very natural. Woke up one day, had this idea. It was, like, reinforced, like, naturally, like, just happened to be reinforced by some girlfriends. And then I realized, like, I felt called to do it, and I've been working on it for the past, like, year, and I'm hoping to have it done by the end of this year. I'm giving myself a lot of time because, like, I've never fucking written a book, and, like, it's really scary, and I have a lot of imposter syndrome around it, and, like, the way I do things is like I go balls to the wall with like anything I do. Like I make sure it's like completely done the complete right way. So I'm doing a lot of like market research. I'm seeing like in what format it'll be best to write it, like how I want to move forward with it, what I want to call it, what the like true mission is. Like I know like what I want the content to be about, which is it's going to be about like essentially like how to like the idea behind it is how to be a kind bitch. It's how to stand up for yourself. It's how to set boundaries, but also just do it in a way that like you're not burning bridges. And it's like choosing what, you know, what fights to have, what like when to like let things slide, when to not, how to stand up for yourself, like, you know, kind of everything under that sort of like umbrella, whether it's in like business, relationships, friendships, just life in general.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah. You're like this genius. I mean, everything. I'm like, your ideas like are just crazy. Like I'm just like mind blown at all of your ideas.
Thank you.
I mean, trust me, I met a lot of people in like major like it takes a lot to really blow me away. And I just like listen to all of your ideas and thoughts and like journey. And I'm like, this woman is so cool. Honestly, that man's lost because you are a cool girl.
Thank you.
I mean, whoever dates you, very lucky. Like, you're so inspiring.
Thank you. It really does mean a lot. And I needed to hear that because today's been rough.
I wouldn't lie to you, I promise. Well, we have to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming on.
No,
we'll have to hang out. I didn't know you were new to LA. We'll definitely get dinner, do a workout. I also saw that you're working out at Royal Personal Training.
Yes, with my boy Ricky. Shout out.
Even your like workouts. I was like looking, I'm like, go girl. Okay. So yeah, we'll have to do something like wellness or dinner, coffee. Please. I want to like chat more.
No, we'll have to.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
All right. Until next time, y'all.